Hello everyone, and welcome to the introduction to Working with Couples Conference 2017. And we're here with Mike Trier. Mike, a warm welcome back to Online Events.
Thanks very much.
It's great to have this project that we've been working together on for some time now.
Indeed, yes.
Yeah. And here we are with a full day of sessions
today. Great. Yes.
Some tomorrow, and we'll finish the conference on Wednesday afternoon UK time. So great to have a real spread of colleagues and discussions. We're live on the site and on the social networks just now, so the colleagues who are watching us, it's good to have you with us. And of course, if you pick up the conference in the library, great to have your participation there also. Well, I guess we're kind of doing what we say on the tin here, Mike. We're introducing the conference. Right. And you said there's three things that we want to have a look at in this kind of opening discussion.
Okay, well, the first issue is what's the purpose of the conference? And in particular, who are we aiming it at?
Yeah. So let's start there. And you were saying we want to think about colleagues who are experienced.
I think that's one of our target audiences is that colleagues who are experienced. We all need to do a certain amount of continual professional development, and I think online events is really helpful. We've got 6 sessions today, haven't we?
Yes.
Is it one tomorrow? Is it?
Yeah, and I think 2 on Wednesday. Yes.
Oh, okay, yeah. Right. And you've also got about 10 in the library. So if anybody wants to sort of really concentrate on couples counselling for their CPD, either live or in your library, there's a lot there, isn't there?
Yeah, so we're going to end up with almost 20 hours in the library by the end of the conference. So thank you for going through our search function, Mike, and just seeing what we've done already. And because not all the sessions will appeal to everyone.
No, and I think today we're particularly focusing on another target group, which is actually people who aren't yet couples counsellors, but who are established one-to-one counsellors and are thinking, well, they might like to get into couples counselling. And I'm just hoping that there'll be a few kind of tips and sort of tasters to help them orientate towards that.
Yeah, so colleagues who are thinking about that kind of work, maybe thinking about doing some training, some tips, and maybe helping us to get a feel for what that work might be like.
Indeed. And I think there are certain key issues that people who are new to couples counselling need to be aware of. I mean, the first issue is about contracting. Is it the same or is it different from normal counselling? Well, I say normal, one-to-one counselling. And one issue that I get often asked is, how many sessions will we need? Yeah. How long is a piece of string? Well, it's interesting. Your first speaker, Jenny, I mean, she's saying she works on an 8-session model, doesn't she? I think, if I got that right. So, I mean, that's one answer, I know that a lot of sex therapists, and we've got 1 today, and I know you've got 2 in the library, a lot of them would say longer than that. I mean, I think I've heard that if you want to engage in sex therapy, really you need to be thinking about 20 sessions very often.
Yeah, so it's a longer term piece of
I think
work.
It's a longer term. And personally, when people ask me that, I just say, well, come once, book 1 session, and just so you get a chance to get a feel for what it's going to be like. So, I say nearly everybody does find it helpful. I mean, by the end of the first session, as far as I'm concerned, there's a tremendous sense of relief just having a chance to talk about what the issues are out loud, rather than having it going around in your head or perhaps just unspoken between you. So, but by the end of the first session, even if nothing's really been achieved in terms of solving any problems or making the relationship better, there is usually a sense of relief. And people do normally then say, okay, we'll book another session. But I tend to just go from session to session. I never say, oh, well, you need 10 sessions. I don't find I can predict how long it's going to take,
So we might get into some of those discussions today, and it's great to hear kind of how that is for you and in your practice as a couples counsellor, and I'm sure we'll hear from other colleagues. Yeah.
There are two particular issues that people who are new to couples counselling need to be aware of. One is arguments, conflict and disputes. I mean, one-to-one, one can probably avoid having an argument with one's client, perhaps. Yeah. But when you have a couple, they're almost certainly bringing difficulties in communication, but manifest itself in arguments. So you need to think about what you do about that, because I think a lot of counsellors are good counsellors, but say, well, I don't really like conflict. Well, then, that's difficult to avoid.
Yeah.
And of course, we've got Ian Wallace talking specific about what he called contentious, argumentative relationships. And of course, he's got a role play there. So that's, I think, a new for online events, where a couple, I feel like I'm blowing my own trumpet, but I'm part of a dysfunctional couple. So two of us are doing a role play, and I do want to stress it is a role play. So we're playing a dysfunctional couple who can't stop getting into arguments, and then you'll see how Ian handles that argument. So I think that would be quite a useful session, particularly for new couples counsellors.
Yeah, and this is what's different about this conference, I guess, in terms of a lot of the other work that Sandra and I have done and that we've done together, Mike, around couples, to have I think it's 20 minutes you do with Ian, and you've been really clear this is not Marilyn is not your life partner.
No, definitely not.
But I guess you're in a couple for that role play.
Yes,
and,
exactly.
It's very fascinating to see how Ian approaches what is often difficult for us as therapists, when a couple just can't seem to find a way to talk without getting into arguments. And,
yes, exactly.
So
I mean, it's just worth saying that it was pre-recorded. we felt it was too, well, it wouldn't necessarily even be ethical, but we thought it'd be too difficult. So we pre-recorded that. So obviously we know what that's like.
So we've both seen that. We're looking forward to playing that. And then, of course, that will be available in the library too for colleagues to pick that up. Yes.
Yeah.
And there's another key issue as well, Mike?
There's another key issue, which is about sex or sexual difficulties. Because again, any new couples counsellors need to be aware that that's almost certainly going to come up, either overtly or covertly. I mean, I think, unfortunately, when couples get into difficulties, very often sex is a casualty, and couples may bring it in the first session, they may not. But we've got Karen Park. She is a sex therapist, but she's not playing a sex therapist in this session. She's being a couples counsellor, which she is as well. And for another, Marilyn and I play a different role play with her, a couple who've got sexual difficulties. But she shows how to handle that from the point of view of a couples counsellor, not from the point of view of a sex therapist. The approaches would be very different.
Yeah. Well, that's going to be really interesting. That's a slightly longer session, and it's really fascinating to see how Karen has those conversations, makes those responses, because I think as therapists we can struggle to be in that place with our clients sometimes. So I think this is also useful, even if we're not doing couples counselling, like as a one-to-one counsellor, to have that capacity to have those conversations, I think is also really important.
I think it's very important, because I think people get very embarrassed about talking about sex, and that really is the key issue. If you have to take one thing away from that issue, is talk about it, and therefore the counsellors or therapists need to be confident to allow clients to talk about it, whether it's in a one-to-one or a couple situation.
Yeah, absolutely. It's such an important part of a couple's life, I guess, and often as you say, it's the first casualty.
Yes.
Yeah.
But also, Karen will be doing a little experiment again as far as online events is concerned, because again we pre-recorded it, but she's going to handle it differently. So my understanding is you'll start the video rolling, but then she'll stop it at key points. So she'll comment directly on perhaps what she felt was going on for the clients or what was going on for her, and then obviously start it again. So in a sense, that's modeling how you can use these videos in a teaching context.
Yeah. Well, that's also something we're really excited about with the other role plays that we have done together, Mike, where you're the client and with 7 other therapists, which is a great piece of work.
Exactly.
Yeah, for colleagues who are tutoring to be able to use these videos as real examples, they're role plays, but very helpful examples of this is how therapists might work.
Exactly. And then moving on, we've got to Leslie, I don't know how to pronounce her name, is it Edelstein?
Yeah.
What Edelstein?
Right, yeah.
She's talking about divorce, which again, I mean, I always say that when couples come to see me, no one comes and says, we've got a brilliant relationship and we're paying you good money to see you. People, if you can imagine, there's a kind of cliff edge. People are either near the cliff edge, at the cliff edge, or sometimes I feel they've fallen over it, hanging on by a root. So a lot of them will be talking about divorce. And obviously, a lot of couples, my main aim is to try and bring people away from that edge and see if we can make their relationship improve. But sometimes, clearly, that's not going to work. And couples do divorce, but then you can have a messy, unpleasant divorce, or you can have an amicable, if amicable is quite the right word. And I guess that's what Leslie will want to be talking about.
Yeah. So I think that's also an interesting session. It could really panic us as therapists, thinking that we need to work to a specific outcome. I guess if we think, is it our job to save the relationship, or like how do we think about that, and also our own, I guess, how we think about being in our partnered relationships as well.
Yes, I mean, I'll be very interested to unfortunately, I can really hear the first 15 minutes of Alan's tonight because I've got another thing I have to get to. But from a person-centered perspective, I'm imagining that you don't necessarily have outcomes. Some couples counsellors or sex therapists may say, well, we've got a target, the aim is to save the relationship or whatever. Whereas I imagine from a person-centered perspective, the therapist doesn't really have that in mind. That's really up to the couple. And really the therapist is just staying with the couple where they are. That's what I imagine.
Yeah. Oh, I'm looking forward to having Kate and Alan with us just to dig into that and see how they think about their work.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then finally, of course, we've got Gaynor. She says, no trust, no forgiveness, and no lines in the sand. I mean, trust's the big issue, in a sense, I feel. I mean, an issue that comes up about a third of my clients is about affairs. Okay. And one of there are many big problems about affairs, but one is the trust just goes. And it's so you can lose trust so quickly, and yet it's such a long time to build up trust, really. But I do feel the trust is an essential part of a working relationship.
Yeah. Well, I think that's going to be such an interesting session as we hear from Gaynor about her approach, how she's developed it, and how she sees it working with clients. Because I think it is a bit counterintuitive.
Yes, indeed.
But I always love something counterintuitive, Mike.
Indeed. I think you do have to have the simple statement. So, I'm thinking very simply, Pooh Bear, very little brain sort of thing. Well, common issues are things like arguments and sexual difficulties. But I think also it's good to have the counterintuitive approaches as well.
Yeah, it's going to be great. Well, we're kind of at the end of our 15 minutes,
okay,
Mike, and
great.
We wanted to kind of keep this slot contained so that people could kind of just have a little listen and see whether the day or the recordings are going to be right for them. But is there anything else you wanted to add before we draw this part to a close?
No, I'm looking forward to all today's sessions, and we've had an introduction now, and we're having a kind of ending session, although it's not quite at the end, isn't it? Where we're going to talk a bit more in detail about how the sessions have gone. So I'm certainly looking forward to that.
Yes, we'll be back at 6 o'clock UK time, and we've invited the other colleagues who are presenting to come and join us. So we hope some of the colleagues might be able to do that, which would be great. And Mike, I also want to say thank you for all the work that you've put into gathering people to come and have sessions at the conference, for creating the role plays as well. I mean, that's been a real big piece of work, and it's going to be such rich learning today.
Well, thanks for inviting me. I've enjoyed. I think we've got trust built up between us, trying to develop this. So
yeah, we've been a good couple in this project, Mike.
Slightly odd, but
slightly odd. Yes. Well, I think that's the kind of couple I fit in best to.
Yes,
slightly odd. Right. Well, I think that's a great note to kind of end our session on, and I will see you in the chat room, I'm sure.
Indeed. Yep.
Be with the colleagues in the chat room, on the social networks, on the website. And Mike, we'll see you back here at 6 o'clock.
Great then. Excellent then. Okay. Thanks so much indeed then. See you then.
Thank you, Mike, and everyone. Hope you enjoy the conference.
Okay. Thanks then. Bye.